Hello everyone, my name's Matt Johnston and welcome to The Interesting Times, a political comedy show from right here in the UK. I was rather pleased with my last video, put together well, included some zingers and the pun work was off the scale. Put it up on Wednesday evening, but for some reason the Kemi Badenoch fallout didn't really take off. Can't think why.
Well, honestly, in all my years of reporting here, I've never seen anything quite like it.
Good evening. There have been extraordinary scenes in Parliament tonight.
Whatever anyone might have expected from a debate on Gaza in the House of Commons tonight, it is fair to say it was probably not the absolute
Careful.
shambles that transpired.
Whew, thank goodness for that. Okay, don't believe what people tell you. This looks straightforward, but it's tricky and involves threats, blackmail, and walkouts. And incredibly, only one of those was the responsibility of the Conservative Party. We've got a lot to get through, so let's get on with it. There are three parties involved in this: the Tories, government, or supposed to be, Labour, the opposition, and the opposition to the opposition, not available in England, the Scottish National Party. It was Opposition Day. For 20 days in every parliamentary session, an opposition gets to table a motion, a proposal for the House of Commons to debate and vote on. Beg your pardon, slipped up already. So yes, there are actually three main parties involved and one party pooper. The Speaker of the House of Commons, Lindsay Hoyle, seen here on Wear Your Duvet to Work Day, who has the job of having the stupidest post in Parliament. For those that don't know, the Speaker is bipartisan, so on getting elected to the job, resigns their party membership. And in turn, all the main parties don't put up a candidate against him. Taxation without representation. In a democracy. Anyway, it was the SNP's Opposition Day, which meant that they brought forward a motion calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. Fair enough. Now, any amendments to the motion are decided by the Speaker because of the whole thing where, honestly, not got a clue. But as this is Opposition Day, then Parliamentary Convention is that the only party able to table an amendment is the government, which is the Tories, which they did. Then Lindsay Hoyle decided of his own free will, after speaking to the Labour Party, of which he used to be a member, that he would allow both the Conservatives and Labour's amendment to be debated, which upset the SNP as they were hoping to split the Labour Party on only voting on their motion, and it upset the Tories as they're going to lose a general election this year. Leader of the House, Penny Mordaunt, she of the sword-carrying prowess, said that as he was going to do that, the Conservative Party, in protest, would leave the House, which they did, along with the SNP, presumably as a bit of a dry run for the general election, leaving only the Labour Party and a handful of independents to vote on the Labour Party's amendment, which they dutifully did. This is Deputy Speaker of the House, Dame Rosie Winterton, who has been an MP for over 25 years, but you wouldn't know it listening to her.
Listen to each other with respect. Calmness, please.
Yeah, good luck with that. It wasn't calm for Rosie W. the night before when the vote was called on the Labour amendment.
As many as are of that opinion say aye. No.
Shut up!
It was quite clear from the level of noise when the question was put that the view of the Deputy Speaker was being challenged.
Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, because you couldn't have heard it because of that. Look, when it comes to points like this, can I suggest a more careful and considered approach rather than who shouts the loudest? At least Steve Bray plays music. Yeah, such a shame that our country's so poor the Speaker can't afford a speaker.
We have seen the SNP Opposition Day turn into a Labour Party Opposition Day. I'm afraid that is treating myself and my colleagues in the Scottish National Party with complete and utter contempt. And I will take significant convincing that your position is not now intolerable.
Intolerable or untenable? Anyway, he makes some good points. So what was Lindsay Hoyle's reasoning?
I think it's important on this occasion that the House is able to consider
the widest possible range of options.
But that's not the procedure when it comes to Opposition Day. And you shouldn't be able to change the procedure. Well, certainly not from the opposition. And if you do want to change procedure, maybe introduce it as a motion on Opposition Day. There was talk that Keir Starmer had actually threatened Lindsay Hoyle.
Categorically tell you that I did not threaten the Speaker in any way whatsoever.
And if he says I did, I'll knock his teeth out. The best way to look at this is to ask, what were the Tories doing? And obviously it goes without saying that while people can talk about dirty party politics being played by the SNP and Labour, it was the Tories themselves who walked away with the gold, as they always tend to do, whether they win it or not. They first of all put in an amendment that they knew nobody would vote on, so they effectively wanted Labour to either not vote or vote for the SNP, then whipped it away at the last minute when they realised Labour were going to have their own amendment. And then they simply didn't have the numbers. Or, as Penny Mordaunt put it,
the government does not have confidence that it will be able to vote on its own motion. For that reason, the government will play no further part in the decision this House takes on today's proceedings.
Another lie.
It fell to the government benches to defend the rights of a minority party in this House.
Oh, you can tell she's angry. Defending minorities isn't really what this government's about. Besides, I don't think the Tories are in a position to claim the moral high ground when it comes to messing about with parliamentary procedure.
It was a constitutional innovation, one might say. You're not averse to constitutional innovations yourself. Obviously, famously, when you were Attorney General, illegally closed down the whole of Parliament.
I don't accept the premise. We'll discuss that another time, Faisal, as to whether or not prorogation was or wasn't what you call an illegal closure of Parliament.
It was illegal.
It was certainly held to be unlawful by the Supreme Court.
Making it illegal. Are you new at this? So were the SNP playing party politics? Possibly. Even before all the aggro had started that evening, they made it clear introducing the motion that called a ceasefire and getting a ceasefire were two different things.
Voting for an immediate ceasefire today won't by itself bring about the end of the slaughter.
It's true. Israel are on a murderous mission. They aren't listening to the UN, the voice of moral authority inside their head, what some of us call a conscience, or indeed the Israeli people. So yes, maybe playing party politics, but a few points if I may. So maybe they were playing party politics. Or maybe with the SNP leader and First Minister in Scotland having relatives in Gaza, they saw the human cost and decided enough. I mean, it's not like they pulled this out of their backside. They've been calling for a ceasefire for months. You can't deny the consistency there. Also, so what? I can't help feeling if we had a bit more party politics, then maybe the Iraq war might not have happened. Sweeping through populist opinions because you want to look tough never really ends well. In fact, if the SNP are guilty of anything, it's trusting the Tories. Because this is a lesson learned to the SNP. You try and team up with the Tories, they are going to screw you over. You don't have to believe me. You've got the DUP and Lib Dems behind you. Ask them about Conservative PACs. So, why did Labour not just back the SNP's motion?
Could you hold your nose and vote for it if it is the best thing on the table tomorrow?
I don't want to do anything in an election year in which the Labour Party might have the privilege of serving that cuts across our ability to do that. And if you look at the detail of that SNP motion, it's not balanced.
You know what else isn't balanced? The Israel-Gaza conflict. Also, yes, it is an election year. Who are you worried about upsetting the British people? Because I've got some news for you. Most people want Israel to stop bombing Gaza. Yeah, we're funny like that.
He was staring down the prospect of a rebellion of MPs, with MPs backing an SNP motion that endorsed the view that Israel was imposing collective punishment on the Palestinians, which is a view that Keir Starmer doesn't think that his MPs should support.
Why not? What is it about the phrase collective punishment that is wrong? If you cut off water and electricity to an entire region of over 2 million people, that is collective, and you are punishing people. Putting the two together kind of creates the phrase. And if Keir Starmer's worried about the legal implications, yeah, maybe we should get a lawyer onto that. Do you know any? The thing is, we are starting to fall behind on this. This is Andrew Gilmore, UN's former Assistant Secretary General for Human Rights.
You asked, is it collective punishment? How can it not be collective punishment? 20,000 women and children. Now remember, that is probably the highest kill rate of any military killing anybody since the Rwandan genocide of 1994.
Please, let's not give Suella Braverman any ideas. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres called it collective punishment last year. South Africa, no stranger to governments behaving appallingly, have taken Israel to the International Court of Justice. The Republic of Ireland is doing likewise. What the hell are we so afraid of? So much chaos, noise, calamity. But in amongst it all, a calm, lone voice of reason. Mark Francois. All right, he's been fucking around with my auto cue.
Mr. Speaker has apologised to the House for his role in what happened. He showed evident contrition, and I think we should respect that. If we err in this chamber, we're expected to apologise to him, and we hope he will accept our apology in good faith. I think we should pay him the same courtesy. Speaking purely personally, I well remember everything that the Speaker did to help me and all of us when our great friend, my best friend, was murdered, as it happens, by an Islamic extremist who told the trial he did it because of the way David had voted.
And I'm sorry that MPs are feeling under threat. Genuinely, fascism and terrorism has no place in this country. But you deal with those making threats by calling in the police, not by changing procedure. And the Jewish population is also feeling threatened. Again, disgraceful, abominable for a country that prides itself on tolerance. And do you know who else is feeling threatened? Muslims. The difference with them, though, is that their threats are front and centre, as the Americans would say. This is GB News. Where better to start?
As you've sort of recognised there, I think one problem with Islamist extremism is it has led to more acts of terrorism. My problem with far-right extremism is it has way more access to power. And I have to say, GB News, I think, is an example of this. So there was an exclusive yesterday, actually from Hope Not Hate, sort of showing what tweets that was a load of your owner had liked. It is just a matter of time before civil war starts in Europe. The native European population is losing patience with fake refugee invaders. Now, I'm against violent extremism, warning about a civil war. 7.5% of the British public are Muslims. You know, the vast, vast majority of them, taxpayers, decent people. And he's talking, or he's liking a tweet about a civil war.
Well, yeah,
We've got another one here.
Talking, he liked a tweet. These are not tweets that he has written.
Yes, all he did was say, yes, that's great, I agree.
If this was isolated, if this
is
was
he not entitled to an opinion, though? This is what we exist for, to have a broad range of opinion and to not shut people down.
I mean, deport them? Sure, but we don't shut people down unless you're calling for a ceasefire in Gaza or having a protest. Then there's Lee Anderson, who up to a few weeks ago was Deputy Party Chairman for the governing party in this country, who on the same channel said this.
I do believe is they've got control of Khan and they've got control of London. And again, this stems with Khan. He's actually given our capital city away to his mates.
He's Labour, you nutter. By the end of the year, his mates are going to be running the entire country. Sadiq Khan, not Khan, was elected in 2021 by over 1,200,000 people, including, newsflash, not an Islamist. And neither is Sadiq Khan, a man that received death threats from Islamist extremists when he voted for same-sex marriages. Then there was Prince William, who released a statement to say how concerned he was with what was going on in the Middle East, the human suffering. And Nigel Farage and the rest of right sad prick lost their shit about a statement with all the politics of an acceptance speech by Miss World. They told him to stick to the BAFTAs. So, stick to what you're known for and don't branch out into other things. Is that what this part-time politician, part-time gin seller, part-time presenter, part-time reality star and full-time pillock is saying? Strange that I don't remember him kicking up too much of a fuss after the same Prince William released a statement in October last year condemning the October 7th attacks by Hamas. These are just people who have no Muslim friends. But if you don't, then it becomes the fear of the unknown, especially with headlines like this. Then there's Mrs. Hate March herself, Swala Brahman, printing that the Islamists are in charge of the UK. Really? Has anyone let the Russians know? Also, protesting Muslims don't run the country. If they did, they wouldn't be protesting. Also, I thought you said they were all on benefits. Well, make up your mind. You can't be a burden to the taxpayer and running the country, can you?
Suella Braverman, former Home Secretary, writing in the Telegraph today, says the truth is that the Islamists are in charge now. They've bullied the Labour Party, they've bullied our institutions, they've bullied our country into submission.
I don't think we should take seriously her comments.
No, take it seriously. The racists are, and unless you take it seriously and do something about it, it will end badly. Because when the dust settles and when the bodies are being counted up, this will haunt us far more than any invasion, far more than any terrorist attack or tweet. It will and should keep us awake night after night that a genocide happened in the 21st century and we didn't say anything because we didn't like the wording. Whichever way you look at this whole episode has been an absolute shit show. Well, that was all rather depressing. How about some happier news? Popular Conservative and ex-autumnal Prime Minister Liz Truss had decided when you got this much crazy, the UK isn't enough for you. It's time to go deep state side.
It looks like in England, even more insurmountable odds. I mean, we have a Trump that's an armor-piercing shell, and we're developing now a cadre literally of millions and millions of people that are ready to serve, ready to do things, many of them veterans. So this movement is getting more and more mature every day.
So we need a cadre of people as well in Britain who are prepared to serve. We need Conservatives who are prepared to fight.
All in front of a backdrop with War Room written on it. I think that's deeply disturbing.
People want control of their own lives. They don't want the government telling them what to do. They don't want these woke policies inflicted on them, because I know that's what the public want. They want us to deal with immigration. They want us to cut regulation.
British people want you to cut regulation? Whose doorstep did you go to? His? And finally, they sat down together. Truss and Puss. Liz and Piss.
It's exciting for me to be here because I first came to CPAC in 2012 and I was the only foreign speaker on the stage.
Bloody foreigners, go back to where you come from. Oh no, that's his country. Stay where you are, stay where you are.
You know, the globalist narrative that somehow we're isolationists, we don't want to work together. Not only do we want to work together internationally, we need to work together internationally.
So, you want to be part of a trading organisation that works together for a common goal. I don't know if you've heard, but apparently Europe's put something together. And that's it. No time to talk about Paul Maynard, Conservative MP, who has been investigated for using his taxpayer-funded office for campaigning. That's Scott Benton. That's the Conservative MP for Blackpool South, who got suspended after illegal lobbying. No, this is Paul Maynard, Conservative MP for Blackpool North, who is probably going to get suspended. Anyway, I hope someone's taking notes. Paul, who can be seen here, having just been told that as part of the investigation, they'll also need to check his internet browsing history. No time to talk about Jacob Rees-Mogg, who has been having a bit of fun with the English language.
Researchers have discovered, researchers are busy chaps, you know, that there are a whopping 546 synonyms for the word drunk, or drunkonyms as they're now being called. Apparently, if you merely add ed to the end of practically any noun, it sounds like a drunkenym.
Dickhead? All right, my spelling isn't what it should be. Also, interestingly, voting in a Conservative government also gives you lots of words that end in ed. Shaft, screwed, fucked, nobbled. But one other ed ending word could resolve that this year. Fired. No time to talk about the fact that our preparation for World War III aren't going great.
£3 billion a year. We last tested it in 2016. We took 8 years to get the submarine right in front of the whole of NATO and the Defence Secretary. This is what happened.
So that warhead sort of went into the ocean and sank. This is a quote that told Jerome. It left the submarine, but it just went plop right next to them.
What I'm guessing is the noise all of our bowels will be making when we realise we have the nuclear potency of San Marino. Even more concerning, this is the second time that the Brits haven't risen to the challenge. We got nervous. It's a lot of pressure, you know. Still, you know what they say, third time's the possible extinction of all life on Earth. Take that, wokies. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you have enjoyed these vids, then please like, subscribe, and share. And I'll see you all soon. Take care.